Hi, I'm Jake Wilburn, assistant editor at Quality Paperback Book Club, and I'm here with New Visions Award nominee Lisa Miller, also the senior editor at Newsweek and the author of Heaven, Our Enduring Fascination with the Afterlife. You've been covering the religion beat 15 years, first at the Wall Street Journal as a writer, and now currently as senior editor of religion at Newsweek. What about the subject of heaven was so intriguing to you?
Right after 9/11, I wrote a cover story for Newsweek about heaven. And it was triggered by the idea that in a suicide bombing, everybody thinks they're going to heaven.
Right.
The martyrs, the suicide bombers, are motivated by ideas of heaven. And I wrote a story sort of pondering that question. Of course, there are no answers about heaven because there's no empirical evidence about
Right.
heaven.
Yeah.
But I was very intrigued by some of the questions that this cover story raised. You know, what does heaven look like? 80% of Americans believe in heaven. Where do they think it is?
Right.
Is it a real place or is it an idea? Is it a metaphor? And I was faced with having to do this. I thought, oh my goodness, you know, everybody's written about heaven.
Right.
And yet there's no definitive answer about it anywhere.
But it also says a lot about, I guess, humankind, sort of just that we're not satisfied with what's here. Like the birth of Islam and how it was very arid desert
Right.
land there. And then, of course, their heaven is lush gardenscape and it's beautiful. So you can kind of tell, you know, what a group or a culture, like their frustrations and their desires through what their idea of heaven is.
That's right.
sort of.
I mean, to imagine a place that's peaceful and serene and overflowing with water and ripe fruits
Right.
is so antithetical to that kind of horrible existence. It's what you dream of, but is impossible.
Right.
Now, there's a funny twist on that, which is that in America today, people tend to want heaven to be more like this world, like a country club, like a schoolyard,
Right.
you know, like a mountain range, like a beautiful garden that already exists. It's
Right.
not something that's inconceivable, it's actually conceivable.
You talk about your own experiences and your beliefs, but it's not polemical. This is a book that both camps could find palatable and enlightening. Was that a tone that you were going for? Is that just something that comes along with being a journalist and learning how to do that?
This is what I strive for in my work. I think that the conversation about religion in our culture is too divided and too strident. You know, to a secularist, to an atheist, belief in God just seems crazy.
Right.
To a believer, an atheist just seems crazy. And it seems to me that there's a lot of gray area and middle ground between those two camps.
If someone were to say, why not believe in heaven? Why not, you know, put your faith in something beyond that's better? What's the harm in that?
I talk about this a lot in my book, actually. I have deep respect for the Orthodox, for the people who call themselves Orthodox, for the very religious, the people who can make that kind of leap of faith and say, yes, I believe there's another place, it's an actual place, it's beyond this world. We don't know exactly what it's going to be like, but I know that if I do X, Y, Z, I have a good chance of getting there.
Speaking of the traditional view of heaven, it was really interesting in the history portion of your book how until about 200 BCE, God wasn't really entertaining guests. Like
Right.
it didn't matter what you did. What changed that? Why all of a sudden did it change around 200? I guess it's pretty complicated. But,
It's complicated,
yeah.
but what happened in sort of short form is that there was a clash in Jerusalem around 167 BC in which Jews were sort of pitted against each other. And at a certain point, a prophet who wrote part of the book of Daniel said, if you stay faithful to the Jewish law, you will ascend to the stars and live with God forever and ever.
Right.
And this was the first time a correlation between faithful behavior on earth and a forever existence in the sky with God.
Right.
I mean, that was an unbelievable change in the way people thought
Yeah.
of their eternal destinies.
Yeah. Thanks very much for coming by, Lisa. And for everyone at QPB, happy reading.
Hi, I'm Lisa Miller, author of Heaven, Our Enduring Fascination with the Afterlife, and you can find my book at the Quality Paperback Book Club.